big room. Um, so as Ben mentioned, I'm from the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences in Sydney. We're also called the Powerhouse Museum. That's one of our venues. And yes, it was a really long flight. And the theme of long flight is one that we'll be exploring a little further. So a little bit about our museum. We are a museum of science and design, and we have about 500,000 objects and things in our collection. So we've got a lot of three-dimensional things. And another thing to know about us is that we're in the planning stages for a new museum, and that will likely involve moving a big part of our collection from one place to another. So as we think through that, we're thinking a lot about digitization, because it's a thing that we can do as part of that workflow, both 2D digitization as well as 3D potentially. And in making a case for this digitization, which is going to be a big investment, we've been thinking about what sort of things become possible if we do digitize our collection, if we do scan some of our objects. So what sort of experiences might be possible in a museum of the future. And this project was a prototype that we developed with an organization called CSIRO, or CSIRO as they're also known, which is the Australian government's research arm, essentially. They have a lot of engineers. They invented Wi-Fi, among other things, so it got some depth. And we worked on the content and the interface for this project, and they worked on the application development. So we wanted to tell a story about an iconic object in our collection, which is this beautiful aircraft from the Second World War. It's called the Catalina seaplane. And we found that there was a really amazing story to tell about this plane. It had been used by this old-school swashbuckling aviator called Captain P.J. Taylor. And he took it on an expedition from Sydney to Chile to chart the optimum air route across the Pacific. It took him about 7 days. And by all accounts, he had a really amazing time along the way as well. So we talked to some of our curators and went through the archives, and we found some beautiful imagery that had never been displayed around the plane. So in the picture on the left, this is an actual thing that happened. They bolted on these jet canisters to the fuselage to take off from a very short waterway at an atoll in the South Pacific. In the middle, Captain Taylor's taking a break from this amazing voyage somewhere in Tahiti, and then arriving in Chile at the bottom. So what we did was we worked with Microsoft's HoloLens platform and with CSIRO, and we built a few holographic assets. The first was a map. So you can place, when you start up the application, you can place the map on a table or a desk, and you can navigate through it using different waypoints. And as you move across the Pacific, the archival images from each stop appear along the way. So that's some of the prototyping work. So map and a holographic plane as well, which was interesting. We weren't able to scan the actual plane because it's massive and it's bolted to the ceiling of our museum. But it turns out it's a really popular aircraft with World War II simulation. So we managed to find a game developer who had a model that he was willing to license to us, and then we reskinned it, basically repainted it to make it really accurate with our livery and colors. So, and the result is basically like virtual diorama that you can move through. But one of the cool features was that we built it for groups, so a host could set it up. Not everyone had to learn all the gestures. A host could set it up, and then you could take a group through it, and they would see all of those 3D assets and holograms at the same place. So I'll show you a quick video. Give you a sense for how it works. the sound is all just a nice feature. That's something that we want to learn about. I'll jump to the next slide, just in the interest of time. So how we did it, Unity with Microsoft's Mixed Reality Toolkit, and the HoloLens just come with that platform. It's networked, as I mentioned, so it can be led by a host, and the guests don't have to learn the code. They can just come along to the right. It uses a system called Spatial Anchor Share to create the synced environment, simulated audio, and it also uses a custom networking solution. That means you don't need a server, you can just fire up the headsets and have that experience. Lots of takeaways, so you can grab me afterwards if you want to talk about it, but we learned quite a lot about 3D, about AR and VR, and also working with a gesture and spatial kind of interface. The collaboration was really key, so getting, like the person who reskinned the plane as well as the application development, those are skills that we didn't readily have within our own team. So it's really great to be able to work with partners on that. It is challenging to scale for a public program. We get lots of families and big groups at our museums, and HoloLens is not cheap. So that's something that we mitigated against a little bit by using it for small groups, for pop-ups, for programs that were basically a taster for AR and VR. And to us, some important people for money for digitization as well. But we are preparing some of our assets. We're doing 3D scanning. It's not a large scale, but we want enough to work with because we know that there's going to be a lot happening in this space. So, thanks very much. Yeah, come and talk to me about it. I can't do a live demo